Good morning, my little roast tatties. How are you? It's wee Paddy from across the shock, and another wee video for you. Um, this is, as you can see by the title, is going to be something like 6 channel lives that will never leave, because they cover everything from the past and into the future. They just cover everything, and they can be compared to knives from the past and knives of the future, if that makes any sense, but I'll try to clarify that now. These are knives that I've had in my collection, these 5, for over 3 years, and they're channel knives. They're used to represent, comparisons. This is a para 3 now, which used to be a para 2 until I found the para 3. And it's not a para 3 lightweight, it's the G10 version, which is the only one I like. I don't like the lightweight one for some reason. It's not much difference, but in hand, I love this with the G10. And this is the modern one of all of these. Now, when I say modern, the Spyderco Spidey hole flickable, the famous backlock, it's just a super knife. This one's an M390, as I keep saying. It's got a deep carry pocket clip on it. I love this knife. Working knife for all around, just an all round knife, which all of these are. They're all round. They'll do a bit of everything. Maybe masters of none, but a bit of everything. So the Para 3 is the newest version, and that'll never leave, because I know it's something I'm really going to change. I'm changing my ADC videos, but I'm also going to change to start comparing knives again. I tend not to do that, and it's usually because I forget. I usually have them sitting to the side, start talking a lot of old twaddle, and then forget about them. But these are the ones that I've never wanted to get rid of, because they cover everything. Before you had the budget and all these lightweight knives, this was the knife. This was the budget lightweight knife that was, and still is today, an amazing knife. This is the Oz 8 version. It comes in D2 now as well, I believe. But this is the K-Bar Dozier. This looks, when you look at it in a book before you buy it, or you look at it uh, on the internet, it looks nothing, because it is just a very straightforward, that profile is very straightforward, simple knife, but a hollow grind. And it's just an Oz 8, but Oz 8 is fine. I mean, K-Bar had been doing it for years and using it for years. They'd got the heat treat down on it. I think this is a super knife for just throwing in a pair of slacks, or a pair of shorts in the summer. It is super. The retention and the backlock is so easy to use. You can flick it out if you give it a bit of a flick, but it just drops. It's just a super little lightweight knife that weighs about 2 ounces, or somewhere around there. I don't do weights, because if you're going to buy it, you can check that out yourself. These are pocket knives that can fit in anybody's pocket, and it won't make you walk around in circles. That's their weight. They're just everyday use knives. But this was just an amazing. I love this knife from the first time I got one. This isn't an original one, but I've had this one a few years now anyway. So these knives will not go, because really they're super comparison knives for anybody getting into the hobby or the show knives. But these knives are irreplaceable, because there's nothing out there, new or old, that these can't, one of these can't perform the task of that knife. I mean, if you want an assisted opening, I like assisted opening. There's nothing wrong with it, as long as it's done well. Kershaw does it well. This is the Kershaw Blur. You can still buy this today, and you can buy upgraded steel. This one is 14, it doesn't say, it's 14C28N, or whatever they call that Swedish steel. It's fantastic as a box cutter, as a working knife. It's absolutely stunning. Again, it has that neutral grip that anybody can grab, no matter what size your hand is, and you'll get a good grip, and a super blade with a little recurve, which does for any kind of manual job. I love this knife. Now, it's just a liner lock, and again, these ones have all different locking mechanisms, from just a back lock to a liner lock to the whatever you call the Spyderco lock. I'm just not hammered with it. But This, one of the oldest knives that are down here, this is an old Tucson in titanium. Look at the milling on that titanium. Now, this knife goes back probably 5 years, probably 5 years plus. But what do you see? It's the tiniest little flipper tab, which when you're going back, there were bigger flipper tabs. This was ahead of its time. Night morning design. Look at that blade shape. Look at that. It's like a dagger shape with a recurve in it to cut through anything in D2. Never rusted, never put anything on it. I've just looked after it. I've never let it go in wet or, it's just a super knife. And it has got a beautiful grind here and a really solid point for prying, poking, but strong titanium. It is never, it's never faltered. Look at this drop shot. I mean, that's before people used to talk about drop shotty, and this was sort of doing it. Do you know what I mean? So a super knife, inexpensive, but just irreplaceable because it covers the titanium, and D2 is a good steel. To me, Tucson have always done a good heat treat on it, in my experience. Then my favourite, my Grail knife, and you just can't say anything wrong with this knife, no matter whether you've got the newest collection. This is just super. Look at that blade shape. It's not a slicer. It's not a heavy use, but it is a hard use. It is a hard EDC use, whether you're a farmer digging out hooves, which it was made for. It was designed for that reason, for a farmer. It didn't want to have a delicate blade structure down here. It wanted to have a secure, you can undo screwdrivers if you needed to in an emergency. This knife will take it. It's an S30V, super steel, absolutely fantastic. One of my favourite seals, full stop. It's a Fidget Factor, which is a real in thing now. This was the leader in that field. This was the leader, and it still is, and it's still sold today with all different variants. It's in G10. I just love the original. Sorry, I keep on doing this. I just love the original. I find it absolutely beautiful to use. My favourite work knife of all time. And then this, you talk about your modern, you see the modern knives. This is titanium. It was anodized for me. Tony Meteor sent me this knife. It was brand new. He had it anodized and sent it to me. This is the zero tolerance. When they could make a knife, and I don't mean to be thin, but I haven't looked at a zero tolerance recently, any knife that I thought I wanted. But this, look at that action. That is one of the best deployment knives you'll ever get. And again, it's not a slicer, it's not perfectly thin, but it is good and sturdy and a tip that can do some work. It's not that delicate. And I have lots of knives that have delicate blades for them sort of jobs. But these are knives that I'm not afraid to do work with because they're not... the tip on this modern Para 3 is probably the dodgiest tip out of them all of these. But this is just a beautiful knife. And the titanium, the anodization, the bronzed clip, it's just outstanding. I love this knife. And it's not a huge knife. It just about gives me a 4-finger grip. I can sneak up there if I wanted to, but I'd never want to. It is a bit dodgy, but you can curl your hand over. That's close enough to most things I ever want to cut. I have different knives if I want to use that. But again, beautiful action still. It's never had a washer changed in it. It's never had, it just gets a wee drop of oil every now and then. Like all of these knives here, I don't have to do any great maintenance. I've taken this apart because I wanted to, but it's the only knife I've taken apart because I wanted to see what an axis socket was like, because that had Ganzos before I had this. So to get a real axis lock, I get in to see the inside of it. But I don't have to take these apart. A wee drop of oil every now and then. Even if it's dirty work, I just wash them out, dry them off, put them away, and they just stay there. So have you got 6 knives, your channel knives? It doesn't matter whether you've had them 6 months or not, but if you know they're going to stay in your channel because of they're different flavours, they're different lock-in mechanisms, they've got different blade steels in them from very budget to high-end. These are channel knives, but they're also my favourite knives to use and to show. I still love them as much today as I did then. So what I want to see is your 6, your top 6 that you have now, that you've had for a while, hopefully, that you'll not want to get rid of, because they can cover any comparison, and these can cover any comparison of a knife that I'm going to review today. There you go. What do you think? Give us yours. Put them down below. I look forward to hearing what your top 6 is. All the best. Bye-bye now.